All right, welcome everybody. I am Lucian and I'm here today with Donna Moore, the CEO and Chairwoman of the LoRa Alliance. Welcome, Donna. Tell us
Hi.
why did you become interested in the LoRaWAN technology?
Hi. Well, thank you for having me, Lucian. The LoRaWAN technology is actually very special to me in my heart. I actually have a background in healthcare way before I got into standards and technology space. And the thing that I absolutely love about LoRaWAN is that it really is a transformative technology. I know we hear those kinds of statements a lot, but it really is. And at the heart of LoRaWAN, we are changing on a global scale the world in terms of people, health and safety and wellness, the planet, sustainability, and environmental sustainability, and also with business profits and bottom lines. And so, for me personally, it 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 really makes me feel not only am I working to drive this standard forward on behalf of all of our members, but we're really making a huge difference in the world at large, and that's what attracted me to LoRaWAN.
Thank you for that great overview. And maybe let's maybe define a couple of things. There is the LoRa technology, which is proprietary. And let's clarify the differences, LoRaWAN and LoRa. What exactly is it and is it proprietary?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm very happy to answer it because unfortunately, it is a confusing point in the market. So LoRa is the SIM-tech chip, and it's
Mhm.
proprietary, and it is the PHY layer under LoRaWAN. LoRaWAN is an open standard, an open ecosystem, and LoRaWAN is really the MAC layer and above, and the communication protocol. And so, absolutely, LoRaWAN is an open standard. I believe strongly in standards, and it's the only way we're going to scale. But unfortunately, there's a little bit of confusion. The names are pretty close to each other, but LoRa is the chip, and LoRaWAN is the open ecosystem standard.
Thanks for the clarification. Now let's bring it to where the audience is in industrial IoT, and there's several hundreds of protocols and standards. Yet why another one? What is this LoRaWAN's? How does it make a difference in the IoT and perhaps as you relate to the application in industrial IoT?
Yeah. Industrial IoT is a huge space for LoRaWAN in particular. And LoRaWAN is a low power, long range, wide area networking. And the difference for LoRaWAN than, millions of other protocols is really what our core strengths are. And our core strengths as a technology is that it is low power. So wireless battery operated devices that are deployed and can live up in the field for 15 plus years. So devices that are going to be out there and you don't want to have to go and manage and maintain and change. It's long range, so depending on the environment of where it's deployed can be up to 20 plus miles. Um, the difference with LoRaWAN also is that it penetrates through concrete and through walls, unlike Wi-Fi or other signals, underground overseas. And I'm trying to just hit the highlight. The other big difference with LoRaWAN is that it can be implemented outside of a hardwired infrastructure or connected into it. So if you already have deployments out there that are hardwired in, LoRaWAN can be set up alongside or connected to that infrastructure. And we also have diversity and flexibility. So, in terms of deploying LoRaWAN, it can be a private network, it can be over a public network, or if you're roaming, it can be a hybrid network that you use both public and private. And the last, probably, well, there's more benefits as well, but the last, probably also one in terms of flexibility, is around the business model. So you can have a capex where you buy your equipment and deploy it and write it off on your financials, or you can have a service model where someone manages it and you are billed monthly for it. So the flexibility with LoRaWAN really depends on the needs of the customer and the use case. Now, after having said all that, and again, that is LoRaWAN's greatest strength. And in IoT in particular, we service about 75% of the IoT, low data rate use cases. There's a lot of talk with 5G, And just to be clear, we are not 5G. We do not do low latency. We do not do video, and we don't do audio. So we're really, really clear on what our strengths are. And again, that's about 75% of the use cases globally in the market. And we also do work with, and I believe strongly, the entire LoRa Alliance does believes with multi-RAN strategies. So while we are very clear what our strengths are, we don't do everything. So we work with Wi-Fi. There's use cases where we're deployed with 5G, with RFID, with Bluetooth, right? Everybody has their strengths, and this market is so large. I mean, it's never ending in terms of what can be um, connected and monitored and use the data to make smart business decisions. It is just endless. And so being able to work with other technologies allows us to use the right solution for the right business use case, right? We don't do everything. We do a lot, but we work with partners to fulfill all the use cases out there.
Thanks for articulating that. I know in my past, I spent 20 some years in industrial software. And we had a gateway that had about 250 drivers. And the joke was that, hey, if any of them were good, then you don't need 250 of them. Very well articulated. I'm gonna drill a little bit deeper into what you've said about diversity and the number of the LoRa Alliance ecosystem. Why is that important in IoT in general and for the potential end user of the LoRa technology?
Yeah, so when we're an open standard, and so the only way to scale in the millions and billions, and by the way, LoRaWAN is scaling, and many of our members are scaling and deploying in the millions currently. But the only way to do that is to be a standard. And our incredibly large ecosystem throughout the world, we're probably one of the largest, LPWAN IoT industries out there, and that large ecosystem allows for innovation with the diversity of our members. It allows for interoperability. It allows for growth. It allows for competitive bidding because you've got, many people in the use cases. It also allows for, once you've deployed a network, you can continue to build onto that network, right? The network's up and you have more and more use cases. Well, because of the large ecosystem of LoRaWAN, we have many devices, actuators, tags being developed by companies all over the world. So it is the ecosystem that's driving LoRaWAN. It's why we're the de facto LPWAN standard out there today, because of that large ecosystem, because of the innovation, and again, primarily because of the interoperability.
Thanks for that. And let's dive in a little bit into some of the use cases of our key verticals. As you know, we have a global community of around 300,000 people across manufacturing, energy,
Right.
and infrastructure. So be curious, what should decision makers in these verticals that the key ones, maybe list them, and then what should a decision maker know about this?
Yeah, so I'll talk globally about our key industries. Having said this or about to say it, it goes on and on. These are some of the key industries, but we are everywhere you can look and see. So some of the key ones for LoRaWAN, and I'll get to industrial IoT, but are asset tracking is a really key vertical market for LoRaWAN, which also is incorporated into industrial IoT. Buildings, smart cities, agriculture, utilities is really up there and a key spot for LoRaWAN. I think I've hit most of them. Let me think really quick here. Yeah, I think
And
that's
it's
most of
very
them.
timely what you've mentioned, right? You mentioned
Yeah,
asset tracking, particularly in the lieu of the global supply chain disruptions that's happening. So it's very timely to have
yeah.
this type of a technology to support it. And you mentioned several other ones there. They are key, but just smart cities, whether their things are going back to work, into
Well,
safe.
yeah, and smart cities incorporate so much. We say smart cities, and what does that mean? So a city incorporates buildings. We have smart buildings, and it's everything from the air quality, the water quality, the cleaning, the maintenance, the moving from green to blue buildings, which is more than just in energy efficiency and more into sustainability and giving back. When you look at cities, you're looking at traffic lights, you're looking at, waste management, you're looking at sewer management, you're looking at lighting. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. But getting back to industrial IoT, we have many members that Chevron and I don't know if you consider target industrial, but we have many companies that are in the industrial IoT space, and LoRaWAN specifically for industrial IoT works in terms of predictive maintenance for the machinery, right? Especially, we've got a lot of on the edge computing. And so, really being able to track downtime for the machinery and replacement parts and predictive of when things are going to, need to be replaced in terms of safety for the workers. Again, Chevron is a member of LoRa Alliance and actively deploying in terms of safety and on the oil wells and the rigs and replacing labor time. We've got miners that have LoRaWAN deployed in terms of again air quality in the mines and in terms of if the mine is unsafe. So, as well as asset tracking and pallet tracking, and GPS is a part of LoRaWAN. If you don't need it down to the specific space, LoRaWAN free has a triangulation that you can do GPS tracking with LoRaWAN, and industrial ITs are using that as well. So, um, I would say one of the greatest areas for us is the growth in terms of cost effectiveness, safety, and automation management is industrial IoT.
Thank you for articulating the benefits of the LoRaWAN, and maybe if you want to expand a little bit about the benefits for joining the LoRa Alliance as a member, what do you get as a parting questions?
Yeah. So one, it depends on if you're it depends on where you sit in the value chain. The value chain to implement IoT is there's quite a few partners that get together. So depending on where you sit in the value chain, if you are deploying IoT solutions, then being able to collaborate with other members is probably the number one value. Again, like I said, it takes a village to deploy it. And you need to be the best at what you do along the value chain, whether it's chip or device or gateway or network or platform provider or a system integrator or cloud provider. So really getting together with those people and or with the other members and providing end-to-end solutions so that the end customer just grabs it and goes. I mean, that has historically been one of the delays for deploying IoT is that it does take a village, and for the end consumer trying to figure out all the pieces to pull together has really been the greatest delay. And now with LoRaWAN, our members are partnering. That's why they're being able to deploy. They're making it very simple and easy through their partnerships. So again, back to your question, if you're looking to deploy, partnering, getting recognition on our website through our shop LoRaWAN, we have products and services that are up on our website. If you're an end customer, really understanding the use cases and how to drive a better bottom line, which is primarily through effective and efficient operations. There is so much savings that can happen with LoRaWAN in terms of industrial IoT and safety. And again, now with a lot of our world and our sustainability being able to monitor CO2 levels and toxic gas levels, I mean, it just goes on and on. So if you're an end user, finding the people who are the best at what they're doing, really understanding your use cases. And again, like Chevron, they're driving in the alliance additional use cases for us to create standards to help them out to continue to deploy new types of use cases for their specific industry. So industrial IoT really, I can even check it on our website. We have different videos that talk about ROI and that talk about the ease of deployment on our website in industrial IoT.
Thank you, Donna, for sharing the insights with our audience. And if you're in the audience, stay tuned and engage in the dialogue. Leverage the hashtag you see in the screen there, and we'll make sure Donna and her team will get to answer them.
Yeah, a couple points there too. If you get on LinkedIn for the LoRa Alliance LinkedIn, your members can find all kinds of education, content, new deployments, news that it's happening. So if you get on LinkedIn and track with our LoRa Alliance and Twitter as well, you'll it's the greatest spot to find out what's happening and how to drive your IoT and industrial IoT business forward. So I would say that. And if you have members that are interested in really connecting and learning more, Paris, we have the largest LoRaWAN World Expo in Paris. That's March 29 and 30. And that event will have over 2,000 IoT, everything from end users to developers attending the conference, over 70 plus demonstrations and booths. And so if you really want to dig in and know how to drive your industrial IoT business, that is the place to meet everybody in person and really learn from the key leaders and the wildly successful LoRa Alliance members that are deploying now.
Thank you so much, Donna. Yes, and check out those websites. And indeed, Twitter and LinkedIn have been instrumental for us to build a global community. Sounds like the LoRa WAN Alliance as well is being very well suited for good channels for them.